Hey team, New Zealand is a beautiful place with incredible nature and nice people. But if you spend a lot of time on the internet, you might have heard that you should never visit this country. Why? Well, we're going to try to explain it to you now. So here are 10 reasons why you shouldn't go to New Zealand. Let's get it on. Number 10. 2 seasons. New Zealand is dangerously close to the Great Southern Ice Cube and is blasted constantly with cold air from the south. The traditional 4 seasons are entirely unknown to the locals, who have aptly named their 2 winter and sunny winter. So if you planned on travelling to New Zealand, you can skip the shorts and swimwear and go straight to thermals and mittens. Number 9. Sheep. Since the early 1980s, New Zealand's sheep population has been steadily declining, going from some 70 million sheep in 1980 to a mere 30 million in 2015. What's the cause for this dramatic decline in sheep numbers? It's simple really. Milk. The shift towards dairy farming and the export of New Zealand's premium dairy products is very lucrative and has become the backbone of New Zealand's economy. And while the economy is strong and steady off the backs of dairy cows, the social problems the lack of sheep have caused is measurable in blood. With an ideal ratio of 34 sheep per adult male, the insufficient supply has led New Zealand men to increasingly turn to alcohol, unwanted marriage, increased male suicide and violence, with many tourists and travellers becoming the target for much of that pent-up rage. Number 8. It's not Australia. Australia is more multicultural, gender diverse, and unlike New Zealand, the police carry guns to keep you safer. And if you're an animal lover, you're in for a treat, as you can find many native cuddlebags roaming wild across the land. Fun, sun, and great beer. And though Australia is a protectorate of New Zealand, if you're planning on a working holiday, the pay is better, cost of living is lower, and the weather gets above 16 Celsius. Nice! Number 7. No deadly insects or animals. If you are a survivalist or like living on the edge, then you may not like New Zealand, as there are no deadly animals. After St. Patrick drove the snakes from New Zealand in the 5th century, the only deadly creature to be found in the entire nation is the humble Katipo spoda. The Katipo is usually only found in beachside dunes, and you're very unlikely to go to the beach or the coast of New Zealand due to the poor weather. Number 6. Doner kebabs. There is not even one place in the entire country that produces a good doner kebab, possibly owing to the lack of Turkish and Lebanese people. Try as you might, you will never find anything nearly as good as in Australia. Number 5. Consumer goods. On February 20th, 2017, New Zealand's Ministry of Facts, Figures and Numbers released a comprehensive 486-page study on the dramatic price difference between New Zealand and the rest of the world. In the study, the MNFF explains that it took a random selection of the most popular items from Amazon.com and compared the retail price difference between New Zealand and United States-based purchases. They go on to say that, in their study of 420 products, they were unable to reasonably explain the average price difference of a whopping 33.33%, repeating of course. They also go on to say that this included their examination of natural causes for the price discrepancy, such as shipping, difference in import tariffs, local marketing costs, and economy of scale factors, and still the math didn't add up. Fruit fans were especially hard hit in New Zealand, with the average price increase of Apple's iPhone X a whopping 666%. The full report is available on the government's MNFF website. Number 4. 1080. No, we're not talking about the ideal resolution to be viewing this video. 1080, or sodium fluoroacetate, is used as a pesticide to control invasive species harmful to New Zealand's native cuties. The primary focus of 1080 baiting is the common brush-tailed possum, which was introduced to New Zealand from Australia by some bright spark in the 1850s. These possums are not only a threat to New Zealand's native wildlife, but are also carriers of bovine tuberculosis, which is capable of jumping the species barrier and represents a great threat to humans and animals alike. It's fair to say that if it spread through the dairy cattle population, it would be disastrous. While it is important on many levels to curb the possum population, 1080 has been shown to be killing even New Zealand's own native species. It is also of vital importance that 1080 is not dropped in waterways, but that proper care has not been taken, as 1080 is now present in the water table. The New Zealand government would have you believe that the use of 1080 is perfectly suited for use in New Zealand. However, if it is so effective and not hazardous to the environment, why is New Zealand the only country to spread it en masse? In fact, New Zealand is, by far, the largest user of 1080 poison on Earth. Number 3. Rugby. There has never been a greater sporting franchise in the history of the world than the New Zealand All Blacks. And this small nation in the South Pacific is positively mad with rugby fever. Not only will you hear black metal, the namesake of the All Blacks, everywhere you go, but you will be greeted time and again with the native challenge in the form of the haka. In addition to shearing sheep and milking cows, a man's value in New Zealand is directly linked to his rugby playing ability. So if you're garbage at rugby, or cheat, New Zealand is not a place you want to go. Number 2. Orcs. Since the opening of the Dark Portal by Mage Lord Medivh and Warlock Gul'dan, orcs have been streaming into the Eastern Kingdoms. In the first war between the invading Horde and the Kingdom of Stormwind, the Horde laid siege to Stormwind's keep, and though their attack was repelled the first time, they returned to sack Stormwind in a resounding victory. A Horde victory that claimed the life of Stormwind's king, Lane Wrynn. After the death of the king and the loss of Stormwind, the Alliance was demoralized and forced to flee north. After the Alliance regrouped, they launched a new war against the Orcish Horde, a war that would ultimately cost the life of veteran, hero, and supreme commander of the Alliance, Anduin Lothar. As Alliance forces rally in their attempt to retake the south and drive the Orcs back through the Dark Portal, local populations are suffering, with many countryside villages being raided, burned, and their children kidnapped to be later used as food for the unending Orcish hunger. Alright team, we hope you've enjoyed this educational video, and now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Here is the number 1 reason why you should never visit New Zealand. It doesn't even exist.